Hello, this is Mrs. Smith, and this is the video for Unit 6, Lesson 9. We're starting on page 349, so go ahead and get that ready. But before we start with the page, I had a couple things I just wanted to review with you. So this lesson is about using what we know about area and perimeter to solve word problems and figure out what's missing and what we need to find, and using what we have to find what's missing. So with that in mind, just a little refresher for you. The definition of area is the space inside of a shape, and to find it you need to multiply the length and the width. And sometimes length and width are referred to as dimensions, and because there are two of them, an area of a 2D shape, well, it's called a two-dimensional shape or a flat shape. In other contexts, like in some movies or whatever, you might have heard of 3D, and that's with a third dimension of depth or height or some other third dimension, and that means it is not a flat shape, but it has that third dimension that makes it deeper. So just keep that in mind. We're talking about the dimensions of length and width. So when you see that come up, keep that in mind for area. And then for perimeter, remember the perimeter is the distance around the outside of a shape. So you have your length, and then add that to your width, and then add that to your length, and then add that to your width. Or another way to do that is 2 length plus 2 width, and that'll get you your perimeter. And then just because of how that works, because 2 length and 2 width equals your perimeter, it's also true that 1 length and 1 width is half of your perimeter, and that's really helpful sometimes when you're solving these word problems. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Starting on number 1, it says solve. Circle whether you need to find a perimeter, an area, or an unknown side length. Draw a diagram to represent each situation. I really want to emphasize that it's always helpful to draw a picture. It doesn't have to be totally accurate, but it just helps you map out what you know and what you're missing. So, number 1, the dimensions, like the length and the width, of a rectangular picture frame are 9 inches and 6 inches. What is the area of a picture that would fit in the frame? So we're looking for the area. Just draw a rectangle. And we know the dimensions are 9 inches and 6 inches. I'll label my longer side 9 and my shorter side 6. And then to find the area, I'm going to multiply those two. So then I have 9 times 6. You think back to your math facts, and it's 54 square inches. Right. Okay. Number 2. And if you're feeling like you can go ahead, you can pause before I work through and then see if you got it right, or you can just work along with me. Either way that works for you is good with me. A garden has the shape of a hexagon. A hexagon. Think back. What is a hexagon? Well, we know a triangle has 3 sides, quadrilateral has 4 sides. Pentagon, that government building, right? Looks kind of like a house. That's 5 sides. Hexagon has that X in it, like the number 6. That's right. So it's a 6-sided shape. Each side of the garden is 5 feet long. So earlier I gave a definition of a perimeter for a quadrilateral, but perimeter just means the distance all the way around. So for a hexagon, or a triangle or any shape, it's just all the way around, adding up all those lengths, not counting anything more than once. So, let's see. If it has 6 sides, so let's draw one. I like to do it kind of like this because it's easier for me. There we go. 6-sided shape. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Each side is 5 feet long. So I'm going to label 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. Make that one a different color so I just don't get stuck. Okay, so I'm going to start on the green one, and I'm going to count by 5s because I'm just adding up the distance all the way around. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So we got the perimeter, because it says how much fence is needed to go around the garden. So all the way around is the perimeter, and it's 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 5 equals 30 feet. And it's not square feet because we're just doing the linear dimension. It's just like the amount of fence. Okay, let's go ahead to number 3. The length of a water slide is 9 yards. The slide is 2 yards wide. How much of the surface of the slide must be covered with water? So, we're just going to assume that we're talking about a rectangle here. Let's not overcomplicate things. And we're talking about the space inside, right? Which would be the area. So, if we know the length is 9 and it's 2 yards wide, then to find the area, the length times the width. So 9 times 2, or 9 plus 9, right? And that would be 18 yards squared. So 9 times 2 equals 18 yards squared. All right. Number 4. Mr. Schmidt is installing 32 cubbies in the hallway. He puts 8 cubbies in each row. How many rows of cubbies can he make? This one's a little bit different. Let's go ahead and draw a picture. We've got rows here. Draw a rectangle. I know that there's going to be 8 in each row. I'm not sure how many rows there are, but I know that there's going to be 32 cubbies, which means I know the area. The area is 32. The length is 8. And now we're just missing the width, which means we either ask ourselves, okay, 8 times what is 32, or 32 divided by 8 is what? So, I know 8 times 1 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16, 8 times 3 is 24, and 8 times 4 is 32. So it'll be 8 times 4. So that means we were missing a side length, the number of rows. We could do 32 equals 8 times W. W equals 4 rows. Okay. This is just continuing with the same thing. The floor of a delivery van has an area of 56 square feet. Ooh, there's a big hint. Square feet. I know already that that's the area. So 56 feet squared. And is 8 feet long. Ooh, there's another hint. There's one of our dimensions. How many rows of 8 boxes that measure 1 foot by 1 foot can be put in the delivery van? So they want to know how many rows there are, if all the boxes are 1 foot by 1 foot. So that means we are looking for a side length, and to find it, we have our area equals length times width. We have our area is 56. Our length is 8, and we're wondering what our width is. So we ask ourselves, okay, 8 times what is 56? Now, I know 8 times 8 is 64, right? If I do one less than that, I'll get 8 times 7, which is 56. So, 56 equals 8 times W. W equals 7 rows. All right. Number 6. Zach is planning to make a flower garden. He has 24 one-yard sections of fence that he plans to place around the garden. This sounds like the 24 is going to be the perimeter. He wants the garden to be as long as possible. What is the longest length he can use for the garden? How wide will the garden be? So, this one's tricky. So we're looking for the side lengths, and we're looking for the longest possible garden. That'll have the perimeter equal 24 yards. Now, if we go back to our formula, we remember that 2 length plus 2 width equals perimeter, or 1 length plus 1 width is half the perimeter. So first I'm going to figure out what is half of 24. And that is 12. So then I'm going to figure out what are different add-ins that add to 12. And I'm looking for something that's going to be long and skinny. So rather than doing something like 6 and 6, which would be very square-like, I'm going to aim for something long and skinny. So, well, I think the longest and skinniest one would be 1 and 11. And we can go ahead and check. We have 1 here, 11 there, 1 here, 11 there. Yeah, that'll be 24. So, it will be 11 yards long and 1 yard wide. Okay, let's try the next one. A spa is 9 yards long and 7 yards wide. So we have our 2 dimensions here, 9 and 7, length and width. Ooh, a locker room is 8 yards long and 6 yards wide at one end of the spa. How much floor space? Ooh, floor space do the spa and the locker room take up? So I'm just going to draw this out. So there's our spa, 9 by 7, and then the locker room, they could be attached or not, doesn't really matter, 8 and 6. Now, the floor space is the space inside, so we're going to figure out the amount of space each of these takes up, and then we're going to add them together. So first, let's do our 9 times 7. 9 times 7, it's going to be 7 less than 10 times 7. So 10 times 7 is 70 minus 7, so that'll be 63 square yards. And then 8 times 6, I know 8 times 5 is 40, so that's one more 8 than that, so that's 48 yards square. So then we're just adding those up, 63 plus 48. 3 plus 8 is 11. That 10 joins the tens place. 1 plus 6 is 7, plus 4 more is another 11, so the 100 joins the hundreds place. So we were finding the area, and it was 63. Here, let's actually write out the full fancy version of what we just did. We did 7 times 9 plus 8 times 6, and that equals 111 yards square. Wow, look how fancy that is. Good job, everybody. Number 8, Rose's dog, Sparky, is 24 inches long. Okay? One side of Sparky's doghouse is 36 inches long. The other side is twice as long as Sparky, which we know is 24. What is the distance around Sparky's doghouse? Okay, so we are looking for the distance around, right? So that's the perimeter. We know that one side is 36 and the other side is 2 times 24. So first let's solve that. 24 times 2. 4 times 2 is 8. And 2 times 2 is 4, so 48. So now we're adding the whole distance around the shape. So let's do 36 plus 48. 8 plus 6, 14. 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 4 more, 8. And then, so that was this many. Now we're just going to add that to itself. So 84 plus 84, 8, and 160. So 168 inches long. All right. Joanne made 16 fruit bars in a square pan. A square pan. Now, what do we know about squares, right? We know that all the sides are the same length as each other. That's really important in this question. The fruit bars are 2 inches by 2 inches. What are the dimensions of the pan she used to bake the fruit bars? Okay. So let's go ahead. I'm going to draw a bigger square here. If there's 16, then we have to ask ourselves what number times the same number equals 16. Well, I know 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 4 is 16. That's right. So that means in order to make $16 bars, there are 4 like fruit bars, right? And if we know that each of these little sections is 2, so then that one's 2, 2, this one's 2, this one's 2, then this length is 8, and then this length, because these are also 2, 2, 2, 2, is 8. So we are looking for the side lengths, and we figured out it is an 8-inch by 8-inch pan. That was a tricky one. Whew. All right, number 10. A scout troop is making triangular pennants for their tents. Oh boy. 2 sides of each pennant are 2 feet long, and the third side is 1 foot long. How much binding tape is needed to go around 4 pennants? So we're talking about going around, so that's the perimeter. So we have these triangles, and there are 4 of them. 2 feet long on 2 sides, and 1 foot long on the third side. So the distance around one triangle will be 2 plus 2 plus 1, and then whatever that is, we're going to have 4 of them. So 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 1 more is 5 times 4. So what we just did, 2 times, 2 plus 2 plus 1 times 4, and equals 20 feet. All right. Good job. Here we go. Number 11. A rectangular quilt is 5 feet wide and 7 feet long. How many feet of lace are needed to cover the edges of the quilt? Now that's talking about going around the outside, so what do you think that is? The perimeter area or side length? It's the perimeter. Good job. So, rectangular quilt, 7 feet, 5 feet, 7, 5. 5 plus 5 is 10. And then 7 plus 7 is 14. 14 plus 10 is 28. 28, whoops, feet of lace. Great job. All right, number 12. Amy has a piece of fleece fabric that is 4 feet wide and 6 feet long. How many squares of fleece fabric that are 1 foot wide and 1 foot long can she cut from the fabric? So we're trying to figure out the space inside the fabric. So if it's 4 feet by 6, how many squares inside? Well, we use the area formula, right? So area equals length times width, and length 6 times 4. 6 times 4 is 24. We're looking for the area, 24 square feet. Or 24 1 foot by 1 foot squares. All right. We're just continuing with these word problems. If you need to take a break, you can. That's fine. Leanne has 23 tiles with dimensions of 1 foot by 1 foot. She wants to tile a hallway that is 8 foot long and 3 feet wide. Does she have enough tiles? If not, how many more does she need? So, we're trying to figure out how much would be needed for 8 feet by 3 foot. So that's an area question. Let's draw this hallway out. 8 on the longer, 3 on the shorter. To find the space inside, we do multiplication. 8 times 3 is 24. Now, if she needs to cover 24 square feet, if she only has 23 tiles, is that enough? No, she needs 1 more tile. So no, she needs 1 more tile. Okay, 14. Mrs. Brown has 48 1-foot pieces of garden fence for her new vegetable garden. She wants to have as much room as possible to plant the vegetables. What dimension should she use for her garden? So this is kind of both area and side length. Now, you'll have to remember an important fact from earlier. To have the biggest area inside of a shape, we want to make it as close to a square as possible, right? So, we'll ask ourselves, what are the different factors that can multiply to 48? And as close as possible to each other. So, let's think. Well, you can have 1 times 48. Those are pretty far apart, right? You could have 2 times 24, also pretty far. I don't know if there's a 3 times. A 4 times 12, that's pretty far. There's not a 5 times. What about a 6 times, what is that? Yeah, 6 times 8. And then it goes back to 8 times 6, right? Because there's no 7 times 7, because that'll be 49. So, the best dimensions would either be 6 by 8 or 8 by 6. So she should do 6 feet by 8 feet. That was a tricky one. Martha has 27 quilt patches with animals and 27 patches with flowers. She wants her quilt to have 6 rows of patches. How many rows will the quilt have? Okay, so let's figure out the total number of patches she has altogether by adding those two up. So 27 plus 27. 7 plus 7 is 14. And then 1 10 plus 2 10s is 3 10s plus 2 more, 5 10s. So she has 54 square patches, and she wants to make it divided into 6 rows of 6. So that'll be 54 divided by 6, or another way to think of that is 6 times what equals 54. 54 is really close to 60, but it's just a little bit under, right? So rather than 6 times 10, let's see, is 6 times 9 54? Yes, it is. It's 6 times 9. So we're looking for the other side length, and it'll be 9 rows. A park in the shape of a triangle has a 20-mile bike path going along the sides. Donald rode 6 miles on the first side and 8 miles on the second side. How long is the third side of the park? So that's a missing side length, right? The 3 sides of the triangle. So we'll say this one's 6, and that one's 8, and then this one we don't know. So the perimeter is all the way around added up. So we know that it's 6 plus 8 plus something equals 20. 6 plus 8 is 14. So now we're just asking 20 equals 14 plus what? You can count on from there. Stick 14 in your head. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and that's 6. So 6 miles long. Alright, you guys. That's it for this one. I know it's pretty tricky. There is an activity for Think Central for this lesson, but for the next lesson, which is about tangrams, you can go ahead and try to do that in your book. I'm not going to have a video for it just because the nature of how I'm making these videos and how the book is. So I've linked you to a game on ABC Ya, and also there's an assignment for you in Prodigy for you to work on this week. I really would like you to spend quite a bit of time on Prodigy because I'm using that to sort of gauge how you're doing on this whole geometry unit. So, yeah, good luck and have fun and have a great week. All right, bye-bye.